Hi, I'm Allison Nachtigal, and I'm joining you today with Lambert, and we'll be talking about accelerating financial services transformation with AI. It's a very interesting time. I think that the creation of natural language interfaces through the latest technologies that certainly Microsoft is leveraging, like OpenAI, have opened up this technology. Essentially, we have democratized access to what was previously very complicated AI scenarios. One of the big changes I've seen is the business is now heavily engaged in trying to understand how to use technologies that they previously couldn't really understand. There's a whole different level of innovation coming because you've got people who actually perform the business function, thinking about how they can take advantage of these capabilities in order to create efficiencies and new customer interactions.
There is a clear recognition that AI is going to change the way that financial services institutions work at the end of the day. And so as they start actually figuring out what that means for them, I start to see them go through three main phases of getting there. The first one is that they look internally in their organizations and they try to figure out what it is that they can do to help make their own staff more productive, whether that's their developers using GitHub Copilot, their call center staff using knowledge agents to help make them better. Then they start thinking, okay, how do I go and make that available to my customers? So how do I take that same knowledge agent that helped my call center agent, but let my customer use it themselves so that they can go and ask those questions and help provide information about the services they offer? And then the third phase is they start thinking, okay, now how do I do something truly different? How do I make a new offer that I can sell to the world, maybe with my data and enabling people to leverage their AI and agentic capabilities using the data that I have and the unique insights that I bring?
Microsoft approaches all of its AI products with a responsible AI posture. This really involves three key areas, although there's many different aspects. First and foremost, security. Are we being thoughtful about the way that the data is presented and protected? Are we thoughtful about the way that we're compliant to all the regulations that need to be adhered to in order for the security bar to be met? Second to that, we have privacy. Are we thinking through and protecting the individual's data so that they can't be identified in any way? And third, we need to be responsible in the way that the AI interacts with the person, mindful of any biases that might be creeping into those responses.
So when we think about responsible AI and how we harden some of this AI infrastructure, it's a really new space for a lot of people. We're really just starting to begin to think about what are the regulations that we need to put in this space, what are the types of things we need to do to harden these areas. And I see everybody trying to figure that out at the same time. And it's a really tough thing to do. And so we're investing in a bunch of different areas to try to make this better. So the first one is all about standards and these standards groups and saying, okay, how can we come up with a standard set of threats and compliance capabilities and controls, rather, that we can use to make this safe. And so we're working with a group called FinOS that I'm really excited about right now. That's a consortium of banks that has gotten together to say, what are the key things that we need to protect against, and producing an AI readiness guide. And then we are then taking those requirements and saying, okay, how can we build reference architectures that help support that? So that when you as a bank start to look at these things, or any other financial services institution, you can just say, all right, what are the standards? How does Microsoft meet them? And you can start there rather than starting fresh and trying to figure this all out yourself. So I'm really excited about some of the work we're doing in that space.
The fundamental requirement in order for AI to be interesting and useful is that you have your data ready, prepped, and available. And that requires a number of different capabilities. From a business perspective, you need to have a full handle on the governance of that data, the ownership of the data, the lineage of the data. And these are hard problems that the industry is typically put off. Again, the fact that Gen AI and the most advanced capabilities that we're offering with copilots and agents is now actually motivating the business to engage with the development community in a whole new way to get that data cleaned up, well-owned, and usable so that they can unlock the business value and the efficiencies that it has to offer. The other really amazing things that are happening are in the space of data protection. So data encryption is extremely complicated. It inherently breaks AI and all types of data analytics, and it's been avoided for that reason. As we see new capabilities come to light in capabilities like Azure Confidential Compute, now we're in a position to protect that data in a way that it can still be used, unlocked, and made available for insights while still retaining the protection from advanced threats that could be out there, or insider threats for people who would historically have administratively had access to the information. Even before AI, we find that there's a real hesitation to move data to the cloud if it's sensitive because of this concern that third parties can access it. And what's actually interesting about that is on-prem data centers, this has been a problem forever. And so we had created very complicated mechanisms to control access for our highly privileged DBAs for years that are now finding their way onto public cloud providers. Gen AI has raised a whole set of questions around compliance. And compliance essentially comes down to the myriad of regulations. Fundamentally, they're mostly focused on security, resilience, and stability. And so if you take that thread as a commonality between all of the different regulations, then you see quickly that controlling that data is fundamentally important. AI just needs to be able to access and use that data in a way that is responsible and secure and appropriately resilient for the use case so that we don't have any negative impacts on the financial services ecosystem. One of the really interesting things is if you go to the other side of AI, it's all the capabilities that's unlocking. So the regulators show up with reams of documentation and artifacts, and essentially lawyers and compliance officers have to make their way through all of that, convert that into a set of well-understood control requirements, which then in turn technologists need to solution for in the context of their products, and there's huge variability in that. So you can actually also apply Gen AI to unpack all that information, organize all that information.
Yeah, a great example of this is us internally. So at Microsoft, we have to comply with over 100 different compliance regimes. And let me tell you, we have some massive spreadsheets that get jockeyed around as people try to get these figured out. And so we've been able to use AI internally to help us read these new requirement sets and very rapidly map them to controls that we already had available. And while it's certainly a co-pilot, not a pilot, it doesn't just take this and we never have to talk to anybody, it can do 80% of it and get us started in the right path. And so we're seeing a lot of promise in this internally and using it here. And we're excited to find ways to make that more available for our customers as well.
So when we first launched Cloud for Financial Services, we created a financial services landing zone, a very basic fundamental capability. Now what we're doing off the back of that is creating predefined policy packs so that customers who would have to navigate what is probably hundreds, if not across all of our different products, thousands of different configurations, can be provided pre-configured policies that adhere to the variety of different regulations that are available with full transparency into what those provide. Drift management tooling so that they can see if things change over time, which is inevitable, and if those changes are a problem or not. And then transparency into the access to their data. Our customers need to always be able to demonstrate that they are in full control of their data, even when it's outside of their control in a cloud.
I'm really excited about the new investments we've been making in the space and the shift to really focusing on a platform for financial services. It's really let us go and work across the entirety of the Microsoft suite of products, from our core infrastructure, where we can work on things like payment HSMs and confidential computing, like we talked about before, and being able to invest in that for financial services customers and the types of things that they need most, whether that's compliance, transparency, accelerators around using things easier, and enabling our partner ecosystem to build on top of all of that, is really what the Cloud for Financial Services is really focused on delivering for our customers. And that's one of my most exciting things that we're doing right now.
Speaking to our partners, one of the huge perks we think we can get out of the ability to provide a cloud for financial services is that they can deploy their own products onto that environment. And so now the complicated RFP and RFI processes that they go through with potential customers can be satisfied much more rapidly when they say, we're using a Microsoft standard configuration.
Yeah, I love it across everybody, right? Whether it's our regulators, our banks, our partners, and Microsoft, we're all saying the same thing. These are the set of things that help you be compliant, that help meet and mitigate a certain threat.
So I think what's next in general for AI is that as with all hype curves, the hype around this natural language interface that we've introduced in Copilot will become standard. It'll become normal. It will become expected behavior. And so then we'll take that next step into some of the key things that we're already really looking on, which is accuracy of results and the ability to use even more advanced AI capabilities behind the scenes, like machine learning, to really unpack data sets. From there, we'll start introducing agents. We'll start creating automations that either trigger actions that a particular user is already entitled to do, making them more efficient and rapid in delivering, or that run in the background and can proactively scan for and push information to people based on their interests, based on their needs, based on their business role and processes. And over time, these agents will start to reach across different systems and perform functions that a single individual probably wouldn't be entitled to perform on their own.
As I see what we're doing today, we're really building this platform for doing hardened, compliant, responsible AI and being able to bring this data onto the infrastructure and to get it all there. But as I look at the next year or two here, I'm really excited for what the actual workload scenarios are going to be. So how people are going to be able to take what we've done here as a platform, bring in their productivity suite and their productivity applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, et cetera, and connect that with the data and line of business applications they use today, whether that's somebody providing market data, news, other capabilities that they already use every day, and marrying those things together. There are so many partners working on how they do this, and I feel like our ability to just use an agent, to use a co-pilot, to go and ask data about an email you've received, but also combine that with insights that you pay for from a market data provider. Those things coming together are where the really cool scenarios are going here. And I'm really excited to see what our financial services customers dream up next to do here. One of the things I'm excited to share is an innovation we've been working on with the London Stock Exchange Group. An easy use case for AI or generative AI is preparing for meetings. Every single day, there are so many people that walk into a meeting with a customer and need to know about them. They need to know, did they have an earnings call yesterday? How did it go? What are some market events that might be really important to this organization I'm meeting with? And the London Stock Exchange Group has all of this information on all of these companies and all the various things across their products. And so we said, what if we could go to Teams, where many of these meetings are happening today, and just provide those insights to you automatically before you go into the meeting? And so together, we built an application that we call Meeting Prep. And Meeting Prep is a Teams app that connects to your London Stock Exchange data to provide you information about your upcoming meeting. So you just put it in, you can go into Teams and see the information that's relevant in a one-pager sort of format without having to spend an hour prepping that ahead of time. Thanks again for watching, and please feel free to reach out if you need any additional information.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be talking to you soon.